people sometimes simplify the value of the U.S. dollar by saying, "Oh, it's our military. It's because we have 100 and however many bases in these countries, and we're pretty much forcing them." It's not as simple as just kind of boiling it down to, neo-imperialism. When people are choosing the currencies that they maintain their foreign reserves in, they're looking at how stable those countries are. They're looking at the rule of law in those countries. They're looking at the property rights laws and stuff that are enforced. The general transparency that they perceive those respective governments to operate with. That's when they're comfortable. That's when they decide which currencies that they're comfortable, keeping their foreign reserves in. That's not always the case with China. People can't really tell, what's going to happen with China as far as even internally, how stable their society is, the fact that they manipulate their currency so much and they don't really let it flow freely in the market. These are other factors that people use, in order to determine where their savings are going to lie in, and these are also challenges that I would say are presented against any BRICS currencies' potential of just completely overtaking the dollar.
You made great points, and let me just say this right. I'm not saying it was created. You have to understand why a thing was created first to understand what the objective is, whether it is what's on paper. It was created because the high sanctions on Russia. And other nations looked at it like, wait a second, if they could do this, because other nations looked at it as like a local conflict from Ukraine and Russia. That's like, Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Union, so they looked like, okay, that's a local type of issue. Look how many sanctions were put on them, right? That was the spark of it. Everything is not going to be plain written out on paper. Their objective, that's not even a wise thing to do. But we do know that the number 2 and 3 most powerful country in the world, United States being one, is Russia and China, right? So, I don't think that is a new thing, right? And it's hard to predict what the future is going to be, but to say I think it's a little bit of ego saying, "Oh, this can never happen." Well, the biggest dog, and when you have that type of ego, when you think you're invincible, right? And then one day you fall hit your face, you're going to wonder what happened when the signs were on the ball. Now, that's all I'm saying about
it. Firstly, we need to look at a little bit of history here. The suggestion that BRICS was created as a result of the sanctions in Russia is patently false. BRICS was created in 2006 as an alternative to U.S.-led global order. Major sanctions against Russia didn't happen until 2014. 12 years. No. Sorry, I can't do math. Plus that 8 years.
8 years. Yeah.
8 years. Yeah,
because of the annexation of Crimea.
Yeah, my wife is the math one in the family here. The point is that BRICS was not created because of sanctions against Russia. That is not true. There is nothing in history that actually supports that. I recommend folks look at the history and also read the BRICS Treaty to understand this a bit better. Amici actually had a lot of great points. Now, I will say this. If there was ever a greater argument for why many countries should abandon the U.S., Trump is doing that work for Russia and China right now far better than either of them could. Upending global trade, reducing confidence in the dollar, creating greater instability here at home, defending pedophiles. Well, maybe that's not one reason. I just felt like I should continue to liken Trump with defending pedophiles here because that's what he's doing. But the point is that Trump is actually making the best argument for why countries should abandon the dollar now. Whether or not they will do that, I would still agree with Amici that at the moment it's still quite unlikely. But Trump is doing his best, it seems, to actually do that. Again, far better than China or Russia could have ever done, either together or separately. No counter arguments from the pedophile defenders here. Okay, nice.
I actually want to say something. I agree. I've been reading about it too. Like, and Amici was saying something how, or I don't know who stepped in. Someone said something that it's actually just used for surface. Like it's not an actual. Like there are deeper things to it. And I don't know if this is going off topic, but this is just my curiosity. But as of now, there's a canal being built. It's called Ben Gurion Canal. That's on the Sinaites of, I think it's on the southern part of Egypt, and it's like connected to Israel. And that's where the Suez Canal, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, which is where the import comes from China or from Yemen and towards the U.S. And that's where the channel of like transport and trade routes are, I think. And I think that because that's changing, and they're using all these different treaties. But I don't know if someone knows anything of this or if you could just disregard it. But I don't know. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes or no? Just give me yes or no.
It's pretty moderate. Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Like that's not just money. It's like
That is not moderate. Just answer the question.
I don't think.
You people are dumb.
Why-
I was legalizing recreational marijuana. I was legalizing recreational. Hold on, world. I was legalizing recreational marijuana in 5